everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies Double Feature. As always, I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds. Today, the two movies that we're going to be talking about are Missing Link and Little. I will warn you, there might be some minor spoilers here and there. I won't go into big-time spoiler territory with these. That being said, I'll tell you this, both of these movies were really predictable. So, I mean, even if I don't spoil it, you're probably going to know what's going to happen in these movies by watching the trailers. But anyway, let's start with Missing Link. What this movie is about, it's about this explorer named Sir Lionel Frost who wants to be a part of this adventurers club. And his big mission is to find all of the creatures that people don't think exist, the legends. When we first meet up with Sir Lionel, he is searching for Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. And after that adventure happens, he gets a letter saying that the location of Sasquatch has been found, and that he goes on this adventure to find Sasquatch. And that's kind of the basis of the story. And again, if you've seen the trailer, you kind of know what's going to happen in this movie. First things first, I gotta give credit where credit is due. This movie is made by Laika, the company behind the Box Trolls and the amazing Kubo and the Two Strings. So the animation in this, the stop motion, you know, the design of the characters has that Laika weirdness to it. So the animation and the stop motion stuff they used and all the models and everything, I mean, while I'm not going to say I loved the designs as much as, say, Kubo and the Two Strings, I still give credit where credit is due. Making a movie like this has to be extremely difficult and something I don't think I would ever be able to do. I wouldn't have the patience to do. So the animation in this is top notch, like it does. So you can't fault this movie for its animations, the way it looks, the way the characters move, just anything about the animation, it works for me. I like the design of the characters. I did like the characters for the most part. I'll talk about that more in a bit with one of the characters. But I did like most of the characters. They're pretty cookie-cutter characters. That being said, they're likable. Sir Lionel Frost, you know he's that... You know he's good under his exterior. He's faulted because he's driven by his own selfish goals, and that's kind of his character arc throughout the movie. Though you know he's good, and you know he wants to do good, he's still always looking for the advantage for himself. So that's kind of his mission in this movie, is kind of to discover that there's more to there's more things in this world than just him. Zach Galifianakis plays Mr. Link. That's the Sasquatch. Okay, here's one of my biggest issues with the movie. I'm fine with the character. I like the character. But some of the character's humor just falls extremely flat. The character has this thing where he kind of takes things literally, or if there's a scene where Lionel Frost says, "I give you my word," and he's like, "What word?" And that joke just drags on too long. There's jokes that drag on too long with this character, and I don't know if this was them letting Galifianakis ad-lib or not, but just, again, I like the character, and the character is very likable, and the character's arc is trying to find his place in the world. That's kind of his arc. The adventure they go on is him trying to find... He's all alone. He's the last Sasquatch. But they're trying to find his long-lost cousins, the Yetis. So that's kind of his mission. And and finding his place in the world. That being said, if they make a sequel to this, which they could, the way that it ended, this, of course, there would be another Sasquatch, and it'd be female, and we'd have to find companionship for Mr. Link, also known as Susan, which means the female would probably end up having a male name. But anyway, that's another story. So the character's fine. The humor with that character didn't work, and it happened a lot, and that really dragged down the story for me a little bit. Because again, you like the characters, you like their adventure, you are interested in their adventure, but anytime he would start dragging on a joke, I'm just like, oh, come on. And it happened a little too often. It didn't ruin the movie, but it happened a little too often. Zoe Saldana plays Adelina. She is a former love interest of Sir Lionel Frost, and then she married his old partner, or one of his old colleagues, and that colleague passed away. They kind of tease a love story between these two, but her character arc is more finding her own path in life as well. You get the villain, even though the main villain is, and I'll probably mispronounce this, Lord Pigot Dunsby. He's like the head of the adventurers group, and he's the mustache twirling villain. The real villain for me in this, and probably my favorite character, even though he didn't get used an awful lot, was Willard Stank, played by Timothy Oliphant. As soon as I didn't know he was in it when I went to go see it, and then I heard that voice, I'm like, all right, we get Timothy Oliphant in this. He's in this world to destroy anything that gets in his path. He is hired to kill Sir Lionel Frost and stop him from whether or not the legend of the Sasquatch is true. He's there to put a stop to it. He's hired by the Adventurers Club to put a stop to this nonsense that Sir Lionel Frost is, these adventures he's going on. Because anytime he discovers a legend, he tried to take a picture of Nessie and the camera gets broke, so of course they don't believe him. So yeah, this movie, it's simple way to describe how this movie is each character has something to learn about themselves, their place in this world. Hugh Jackman's character, Lionel Frost, has to learn that there's more to life than just him. It ends up becoming a buddy film between Mr. Link and Lionel Frost. And they just go on a grand adventure, and they have to both all find their places within this world. And of course, it has a little bit of a happy ending, even though near the end of the movie, and Leica does this sometimes, man, they deal in death an awful lot in their movies. As sweet as this one is, okay, think about Kubo. Kubo, you kind of knew could go dark, right? Yeah, it was a fun movie, but you knew there were some dark undertones to that movie. This one didn't feel like it had dark undertones, other than, people were shooting guns at each other, but no one was getting hit or anything like that. And it was all played off pretty cartoony. A lot of the humor in this is very slapstick. So you don't expect this movie to get dark. And then near the end of the movie, 3 people get killed. And it's like, whoa, hey, you kind of expect them to be stopped. I didn't expect them to murder. Okay, you won't call it straight up murder because nobody gets shot, but people die, and it's fine. But just the rest of this movie felt a little too sweet to all of a sudden, hey, we have to kill these characters. So I think these characters either could have learned their lesson or just been forgotten about. One of the characters probably needed to go because he wouldn't have accepted defeat, but the other two, all of a sudden, or at least one of them, go a little crazy and he ends up dying. So it was a weird feeling in this movie. Again, in Kubo, I expected it, but this one, not so much. Again, it doesn't ruin the movie. I enjoyed this movie, but did I love it as much as most critics? No. I would rather go back and watch Kubo again. That movie to me is a masterpiece, whereas in this one, it's a good movie. I would still recommend it. The kiddos might like it. The kiddos might enjoy the humor a little better. I do recommend it. It's still worth watching. It's not a bad film at all. But is it a great film compared to something that Laika's done before? Again, like Kubo, I wouldn't say so. The next movie we're going to talk about is I guess you can call it a fantasy romantic comedy, Little. This movie stars Regina Hall, Issa Rae, and Marseille Martin. I hope I said her name right. What this movie is about is a woman. It shows her as a kid briefly, and she's about to have her big moment at the talent show where she's using science to wow people, and a bully ruins it for her, and she misunderstands a message from her parents about how she needs to handle this, and she ends up growing up, becoming rich and famous, and becoming a bully to her employees, to the people that work at the building she lives at, everybody, especially her assistant. When she bullies the wrong person, this person, even though they're just kind of playing, puts a spell on her, and this woman ends up turning back into her kid self, and then she has lessons to learn. So that's the basic setup for Little. In a way, this movie felt like a reverse, both a reverse and gender reversal version of Big. Even though I wouldn't say it has the same lessons, and Big is a much better film, trust me. This one is just a simple, characters have lessons to learn, other characters need to stand up for themselves kind of movie. You kind of have two different stories going on. First is the Jordan Sanders story. That's the girl that gets turned little. She has to learn that, of course, you need to... there's ways to win without bullying, without being mean, without having to be the alpha dog. You can trust people. You can have friends. You can still succeed. So that's that story, and then also you have Issa Rae's story, where she needs to learn to kind of stand up for herself and her ideas, and things like that, and stand up to her boss, and which her and her boss, it's one of those, well, they're going to be friends later kind of movies. And, I got to say this, I didn't love this movie. That being said, I won't say I wasn't entertained by it. Don't get me wrong, there are parts of this movie that I'm just sitting there going, why is this happening? But really, some of the humor landed with me, I have to say. Not all of it. And again, not all the humor is clever and original. But there's some humor that lands with me. There were parts of the movie that didn't land with me, like all of a sudden, the little girl, the little Jordan, as I guess we'll just call it little Jordan, her and April, that's Issa Rae's character, are out to lunch, and they're getting to know each other and talking and all this stuff, but all of a sudden it breaks out into song, and that lasts a little too long. And then also, and though I know I'm not a kid and I'm not a part of this Fortnite culture or whatever, but the scene where little Jordan's trying to teach, first of all, she tries to teach other outsider type kids that, they need to just stay away from, like a talent show or whatever, but then she encourages them to do the talent show, and kind of stand up for themselves the way she learned that she kind of needed to stand up for herself, but in the right way. And they start doing Fortnite dances, and I'm just like, if I got to see that stupid floss dance in a movie, I mean, it's almost becoming, there's certain jokes in movies that are getting used in every type of movie. The floss is one of them. Anything like, I hope I get 5 stars, and any Lyft or Uber type jokes. I'm getting so tired of these jokes in movies, and I'm tired of seeing that stupid floss dance. I know the kiddos love it, and fine, it's their thing, but I'm getting tired of seeing it. So yeah, there's parts of this movie that really worked for me, though, because I like Issa Rae's kind of dry delivery of some humor, where she'll kind of just, throw a little side a side comment, you know, and stuff like that. I like humor like that, and I think she delivers really well. I'm not saying all the jokes landed, but I do like her delivery. And for me, the best part of the movie is Marseille Martin, because she's playing a grown-up in a kid's body. And she's really good at it. It's hilarious, because there's parts where she'll say flirt with her teacher, and there's parts where she's got a neighbor that as an adult she wouldn't really open up to, but of course you know they're going to end up being together. And just their interactions together are hilarious. Anytime she wants to go drive her car, just little things like that. When she has little spats with, you know, she walks out of an elevator. Earlier in the movie, as an adult, she pushes a kid out of the way. Well, she tries to push this kid out of the way, not realizing she's a kid yet, and the kid shoves her to the ground. I mean, there's just the way she had to act as an adult was really funny, and I thought she did a really good job. Again, this movie is not perfect. It's not everyone's gonna love it. Not all the humor lands, but I can't say. And while I say I wouldn't probably watch this again, and I would probably say it's a rental, I still had a good time watching it. I'm not going to say I love this movie and you must go see it, it's the greatest comedy of the year. No. That being said, I had a good time watching it one time, but I would wait. If you want to see it, wait to see it when it comes home on Blu-ray. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies Double Feature. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about either of these movies, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.